Welcome to the Blue Oasis podcast. This is a FEAT podcast for finding peace and prosperity, learning the history of hobbies, as well as developing a little side hustle. If you want to find peace and prosperity in your life, this is your show. Get ready. You're listening to the Blue Oasis podcast. I am your host, Adam Rothstein. All right, let's get to the show. And welcome back to the Blue Oasis podcast. I'm talking today with Nate Zeleznick, talking martial arts, spirituality, and deep breathing. Nate, how are you?
Adam, blessed to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And hello to everybody out there that's watching or listening right now. I'm excited to have some very interesting information for you that's actually usable, and you can actually start changing your life after this podcast.
Sweet. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about your life story and your beginnings.
Yeah, so growing up here in a small town in Utah, a country town, cowboy town, as the only non-Mormon kid in my grade, from the age of 5 on, I found myself being very heavily bullied physically and psychologically, sometimes even by the kids' parents. I mean, it was so relentless that kids would come to my house during the summer to kick my ass. So very rarely was I ever feeling safe. And so at the age of 12, I found myself sitting on my dad's den floor with his loaded rifle pressed against my head. And I was about ready to make a very permanent decision based upon some temporary feelings because I didn't feel safe anywhere. And, I was really feeling, and I know a lot of people go through a dark night of the soul like this, that nobody liked me because I was a bad person. I had a very volatile mother, so I felt like a bad son. I was also the bully to my brothers because I would take it out on them, all this abuse that I was having. So I felt like a bad brother. I just felt like a bad person, honestly, Adam. And so I was really considering taking the long walk away from the physical. And then I thought about my mom and dad, and I just couldn't do that to them. And so I put the gun away. They never found out. And that night is when I had my very first out-of-body experience. I astrally projected, which is strange for a lot of people, but we all do this every night when we dream. And it's a interesting phenomenon that even the CIA has been using this kind of a non-local function of consciousness technology to spy on the Soviets during the Cold War. But I didn't know what was going on. And so there I am floating above my body going, what the hell is happening to me? And I was really hoping that I was dead because that's the state of mind that I was in, as so many young people, especially now, are. And then I went back into my body, and then it started happening more and more. And I didn't know what was happening, but I knew that I was more than my physical body. And I started to understand that I'm here for a reason and that this is just a temporary experience because I had so much proof over and over again that I couldn't dismiss and I couldn't deny, but I also couldn't explain. And so I became very fascinated and really enthralled with the abilities that humans have to go beyond our 5 senses. And so fast forward to when I was 16, I joined a karate dojo so I could defend myself. I also, when other boys were out trying to impress girls, I was buying things like books on out-of-body experiences and binaural beat cassette tapes. This is before CDs were invented, but everything that I could in order to find out what was happening to me. And later, for me, I understood that. And fast forward again until I'm 23 and I'm working at a credit card processing center, fulfilling my life's work of answering tech support questions, right? Well, I was on my way to work and I watched a blind woman almost get killed in front of me. And why that's really relevant is the day before I had received a cassette tape, a VHS cassette, and a little manual that I ordered out of Black Bolt magazine that guaranteed me inner power in 2 weeks, or I got my money back. And I was like, instant cheese, sign me up. I don't have to work for 40 years and plus in the martial arts. in America, very rarely do you find an internal energy or a meditation component. It's almost all what is known as the external aspect. So kicking, punching, blocking, forms, weapons, fighting, those things. Well, I saw on this tape people from Indonesia, and I was just learning about Indonesia. I didn't know really much about it, but I was seeing people do the most amazing martial arts feats that I'd ever seen. The movement is so different than anything I'd seen in China or Japan or any other system. And they were able to do things that were truly mind over matter, meaning their mind over their matter. So I'm sure we've all seen people break a brick or a board, or maybe stacks, but I've never seen anybody breaking stacks of steel and iron or stone, like stone this thick. And it was just amazing. These small people, smiles on their face, having a great time, just smashing the hell out of stuff. Well, then it showed people who were able to see blindfolded. I'll let that sink in. They were able to see blindfolded. Now, yeah, Adam, jump
I
on
have
it.
to get into that question. I mean, like they were able to see like sort of using the force or whatever you saw on Dragon Ball Z sort of thing. Like it almost was like that in real life. Almost, right?
Well, and to your point, these people were able to drive cars through traffic in Jakarta, which, if you anybody out there, you've ever been to Southeast Asia, with your eyes wide open, it's probably a suicide mission unless you grow up driving there. Like it's crazy. And they were able to do things like seeing military members with hoods over their heads, cinched around their neck, and they were shooting targets out of people's hands and fighting full contact, bare knuckles. And then it showed blind people who could read printed material. And honestly, I was torn, Adam, because on one hand, I'd had all these out of body experiences or remote viewing, and I'd studied this so much for years that I'm like, I know there's a lot more to what we can experience than what we're trained to experience, or even what our senses tell us is possible. And on the other side, I'm like, this is bullshit. No, magicians do that. But wait a minute, Jedi's might just be real. No, I'm not a Dragon Ball Z follower. I'm in my late 40s, so Dragon Ball Z came around long after I was done watching cartoons in my life. But Jedi's my whole life. Star Wars came out a couple of years after I was born. And as soon as I saw it, when I was like 6, I think, I wanted to be a ninja and a Jedi, a ninja Jedi. That was like my mission. And a little bit later on, I was actually given that opportunity to do so. So fast forward, let's go back to the timeline where I'm watching this videotape, and the next day, after I see these blindfolded people, and I'm still kind of skeptical, I watched this blind woman smash into a ball with her face. Her dog led her right into the light pole while she was trying to cross the street in front of me, and I was like, I need to find those Indonesian people. I don't care what it takes. I'm 23 years old, and I just had a beeline on, I have to do this right now. It wasn't like a polite request. It was a spiritual command. And I found them. This is back in dial-up days of internet. So with a 14.4 modem, I was able to track these people down. And I brought this team of martial arts experts over to the United States for the very first demonstration at my alma mater, Weber State University, as well as the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind, and at the Indonesian Embassy in Washington, D.C. And it's such an amazing art. It's called Merpati Putih. Now, Merpati Putih sounds strange in English, but in Indonesian, it means white dove. So here we have a martial art where they're fighting bare knuckles. They're using this inner power to break stuff. They're able to do Jedi skills. And yet their mascot, if you will, is the symbol of peace and justice for humanity. So beautiful. And when I got to meet these people and I got to actually work with blind people and see what they could do, it was really emotional for me. I'm like, holy crap, Jedis are real. They're in my house.
Yeah.
But they had never allowed a non-Indonesian person to learn. So I was just simply being their liaison. I wanted to help them get a foothold here in America to help spread this. Well, when they saw what I was going to do and sacrifice to bring this here. They, because this is a royal family's art passed down for now 12 generations in this family, the 11th generation heirs, they spoke with the chairman of Merpati Putih, who was at my house, and they told him, we want Nate to become the first person to learn this outside of Indonesia. And to give a little context, this is one of the largest martial arts itself, like individual martial arts in the world, with over 1 million people trained. That's a lot. Indonesia has the third largest population in the world, above America. So it's huge. A lot of people. They've been doing this for a long time, but they had never let an outsider learn. And so the synchro destinies just kept rolling. Right. So I see the video, I see the lady, I bring the people over here. They allow me to start training as the first person. But who am I going to learn from? Well, it just so happened by coincidence, since those don't exist, but yeah, by coincidence, out of the 3 people of a high enough rank in this martial art to train me, one of them just happened to live in Salt Lake City, about an hour south of me. And so I started training with him. And a few weeks later, one of my younger brothers joined me. And together, the two of us went through a very accelerated training program, since we both had trained in martial arts. We were both very committed, disciplined people. And we were sitting there learning from a former special forces trainer. This art, just as an aside, and I'll come right back, but this art is standard training in every branch of Indonesian military, including their special forces, for the past, well, over 50 years. So they know what this does, just even on a physical level, for our energy, our stamina, our immune system, our stress relief, our ability to think under pressure, make quick decisions under fire, literally life or death situations. That's why this is so good for business leaders. It's good for athletes. It's good for everybody. Just those things alone. But it's also got the spiritual, meditational, expansion of consciousness aspect as well, for people who are on that path. So overall, it's like the Swiss Army knife of energy work. Now, when I was able to start training, my brother and I it was just like pioneering feat, first in the world, over and over and over again. We went to Indonesia numerous times. We trained there for months at a time, trained with the Royal Airs, with the Special Forces, with the best trainers in this art. We also did training and taught people over there. We ran one of the largest martial arts schools in the country for 20 years. I have myself amassed over 37 hours worth of training, meditation, teaching, and coaching experience. So we've been doing this for a while. And so now my integrated ascension method, which I formed in 2022, I wanted to take this Merpati Putih, just next level everything. And I wanted to take it to a different level using modern technology like vibroacoustic therapy, binaural beats and brainwave entrainment, nutrition, supplementation, energy technologies, all kinds of cool stuff. So that's why it's the integrated ascension method, because it integrates all these different things to help your ascension. And so that brings us to, short story long, that brings us to the present tense.
Oh, that's a lot. And I'm good, and I have to say, I mean, it does sound like some anime movie almost, your
Yeah.
backstory, because you go, you train with these in you train in Indonesia. It's like I don't know, it's like some kid in I don't know, like Naruto or Dragon Ball Z. Again, you go to this academy and you're only and and you get like special permission to train with these masters, and then you
Yes.
become the master yourself as well.
Well, without a doubt. And it's always been about helping other people. So it started off wanting to help blind people. And then we quickly realized that everybody is blind. Everybody is blind. There's nobody that has it all figured out, Adam. We're all here, like Ram Dass, the philosopher, said, we're all kids walking each other home. Sometimes we trip each other. Sometimes we push each other. Sometimes we walk side by side. And other times we give each other a piggyback ride when we need help or other people need help from us. But make no mistake about it, we are all having experience. You can't shut it off, and it's going to be ongoing no matter what. And we're all learning from each other. And so that's really my mission, is to help especially business leaders with lung problems. I have to say though, like this type of breath work and so many types of breath work out there, and people are now really familiar with it. This is a unique type because it's not hyperventilation. It's actually breath holding in a very specific way to affect the chemicals in our body and the energy in our body that no other system I've ever seen even comes close to. Not even close. That said, helping people unlock their not necessarily even abilities, but I'm going to say their awareness to help them answer those big questions. Hopefully, they can answer some of these. If not, at least one. But where did I come from? Why am I here? How did I get here? What am I really supposed to be doing on this planet? Where am I going after my body dies? These are the big questions, right? The other things like, how am I going to pay my taxes? Those are not big questions. The other ones are the existential questions about why we're actually being, what we're here to do. And so to take people into a processes where they get to discover that for themselves. I'm not a helicopter. I'm not going to take anybody to the top of the mountain, but I'm a damn good Sherpa. So if you need the right ice axes, crampons, ropes, carabiners, North Face tent, the sleeping bag, okay, I can hook you up with the tools necessary to have the best journey possible. But I am not the person to tell you where you're going. That's for you to discover. And everybody's got their own route, own road to Zion. But there are going to be some certain things along the way that we can say, without a doubt, are going to be there. That no matter what, you have to navigate these things. Well, why not have the most amazing tools possible to help you do that as successfully as possible and have the best experience possible? That's really my mission.
Of course. Um, Now I do want to go back to the meditation and
Mm.
stress hormones. I I'll tell you, when I was younger and in college, I mean, I'd get panic attacks of taking tests and everything, and I just could not deal with like just handling some of the stress of tests. And I was never a very good test taker,
Yeah.
um, at all. And so, so what meditation practice would you implement for someone with anxiety, and how would that just
Mm.
help someone in their business?
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, first of all, if you have anxiety, there's really no such thing as anxiety. That's just a label. But what it really is fear. That's the actual emotion behind anxiety. So we need to find out, first of all, what we can do to let that go. Now, if we dive into it and say, yes, I'm afraid of this for this reason, a lot of the time we can make it bigger and bigger and bigger and not actually release it. We just become more afraid of it because where energy goes, or sorry, where focus goes, energy flows, right? I didn't make up that saying, but it's very true. So when we put our energy into our anxiety or our panic, we're going to get more of what we focus on, right? So how can we step out of this worry? And Adam, let me ask you a question. What would be the anxiety? What would that catalyst be for you?
The anxiety right now or in the past?
In the past, anytime, it doesn't matter.
All
Anytime.
right.
It will be
Uh,
a common thing.
Okay,
Common
I'll be
thing.
honest with you. I'm afraid to die alone, and never find
Okay.
true love.
Okay. So, but here's the thing. Is that happening right at this exact millisecond?
Not exactly. I mean, time's still going on, and I haven't found the one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a really good teachable moment. I'm gonna ask you some questions if I could.
Okay.
And this is good for everybody. Everybody out there, this is coming up for a reason. You're not here by accident. Pay attention. So, Adam, let me ask you a question. Are you experiencing anything right in this moment, this second, right now, related to that?
No, 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 I'm talking to you
Exactly right. So, I'm going to ask you a question. Adam, where are you?
in my bedroom.
Okay, where's your bedroom?
Okay, it's in Florida. You want me to go a little more specific?
Yeah.
Um, Palm Beach County, or do you want me to go even more specific?
Yeah, let's go. Where is Palm Beach County? We're going to follow
Or
this. You're going
or
to love this.
east coast of Florida.
Okay, where is Florida?
Florida is the southernmost state of the United States, and it's located in the continent of North America.
And where is that?
That is in the northern hemisphere. Wait a minute.
Of of what?
Of the world?
Okay, where is the world?
Okay, we are the third planet away from the sun in the Milky Way galaxy.
Okay, and where's that?
That is in this known universe or megaverse or ultraverse. How far do you want me to go back?
I like Ultraverse. That's cool. I've never heard
Yeah.
that before. So here's the interesting thing, though. All of that is correct, and yet none of it is true. The question I asked is, where are you? The answer is here.
Oh, here.
Okay, so this has a very, very specific reason, Adam. There is a method to this madness. So we could look at all those different things and say, I'm here, blah, 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 but I'm actually here, no matter what. And this is the old saying, no matter where you go, there you are. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. You might get this a little faster. Adam, what time is it?
Time's at 2:07 p.m.
Okay.
EST,
Okay, what's EST?
Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, and where is that in relation to where you are?
I'm located in the Eastern Time Zone.
Okay, so Adam, what time is it?
It's
If
2:07.
Yes, but if I ask you, where are you? And the answer is here. If I ask you, Adam, what time is it? What is the real answer?
What is the real answer now?
Correct, correct.
Okay, got it.
So it doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what time it is. You are always here and it is always now. And the reason I say that is because anxiety is a figment of your imagination. If you're putting your energy and your mental awareness into something that happened in the past that you regret or is a trauma for you, now you're not actually fully present and able to use all this amazing life force energy that you have for what you're doing at this moment because you're focused in the past concurrently. And this can happen both same time. If you're thinking about something in the past, I don't want to die alone. I'm afraid of this test. What if I get a flat tire? Blah, blah, blah. Now you're putting your life force energy into the future, and those things haven't happened yet. So you don't know. But what you're doing is you're taking away from the divine presence that you can be experiencing and the reverence for this amazing life you chose in this here and now. Are you tracking so far?
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the quickest way you get there, because it's a lot of good talk to say, oh, yeah, stay in the here and now. It's a hard thing for humans to do. So I'm going to have you do something with me. Would you like everybody out there? I hope you're ready to learn something. Adam, are you ready to do something?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to sit up straight. Just
I'm actually
relax.
standing, but yes.
Perfect. Stand up straight. So your head is over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips. You're relaxed as possible. And I want you to do this with me. Okay. Breathe in until your lungs are totally full. And as you breathe out, allow your body to just relax. Your shoulders drop, your bones sit upon each other so that you're using as little musculature as possible. Breathe in and breathe out and relax. And become more aware of your entire body. As you breathe in, I want you to imagine you have energy coming up through your feet, into your legs, into your hips, into your stomach and your back, through your upper back and your chest, through your shoulders, down your arms, all the way up to your head. And as you breathe out, allow any tension to just seep out through your feet, all the way from the top to the bottom. Now, I want you to do this 3 more times in this way. Breathe in, energy comes up, and breathe out. Energy that doesn't serve you, just let it go out through your feet and relax. There's one. Breathe in slowly, fully, and breathe out all the way out, top to bottom, and relax more. Breathe in again, and breathe all the way out. Very good. Now, I'm going to have you open your eyes. All right. So this is just something you have at your disposal at all times. How are you feeling right now, Adam?
Better. I
Good.
still feel the shoulder injury I faced a few weeks back from playing
Yeah,
hockey, but other than that, I feel much better.
good. And that took a whole 30 seconds or maybe a minute, right? So when we have, so here's an interesting thing about anxiety. And I know that there are so many people that have what is termed anxiety, which is really unrecognized fear and starvation of air. So first, anxiety is basic. All it is it is excitement without the breath. Once you start to breathe into that anxiety, you start to feed your body this life force energy and all this oxygen that you really need, that you've been starving yourself from, and your body, not really, if you're not aware, well, if you're not breathing properly, your body on a small level feels like you're starving it of oxygen, and that's the worst feeling for any life form, is being unable to respire. And yet, I'll get to this in just a second, but when we're doing this, if we remember to breathe, we go from anxiety to excitement, and finally you move into exhilaration. And you
Yeah.
become very like, yes, hell yeah, I can do this. Whereas if you're in a state of shrinking and you're collapsing your lungs, you're not breathing properly, you know, humans have two fears when we're born: falling and loud noises. That's it. We will pick up a spider or a rattlesnake when we're a month old. We don't know the difference, but everything, it doesn't matter. Human, shark, plant, it doesn't matter. If it's alive, it will have a fear intrinsically of not being able to respire. If it's carbon dioxide to O2, O2 to CO2, doesn't matter. The exchanges, you take away its ability to breathe, you're going to have stress. And the thing is that right now in our society, we are the most stressed that we have ever been, consciously and unconsciously. And so most people have heard of sleep apnea, but I have a really important thing for every single person out there right now: to live a longer life, have more fun, have more energy, have better immune system, have less risk of heart disease and stroke and all kinds of other not fun things. There's a new syndrome called email apnea. Have you ever heard of that?
Is that when you feel like you have to check your phone and actually go back to, or am I thinking of something else?
Well, no, that's just a dopamine addiction. We have to check our phone and get that dopamine hit. No. Or what I'm talking about is when people stop breathing when they're asleep, it's called sleep apnea, and they'll use a CPAP or mouth guards or certain chemicals, drugs to help them be able to breathe the whole night through. But what's being found is there is an epidemic of what's called email apnea, which is where people stop breathing while they're working, while they're scrolling, while they're swiping, because they're not aware, they're not conscious. And so, my greatest, and I have a gift for everybody who's watching that will help you stay more conscious with your breath. And also, a special breath pattern will help restore balance to your nervous system very quickly. People are so unaware and unconscious of what their body is telling them that very rarely do they ask the question, how am I feeling? And checking in with themselves. Or what is this really about, when they're experiencing something they don't prefer. So it starts off with, Adam, where are you?
I am here
What time is it?
right now.
Take a breath in. As you exhale, feel all the stress and panic, let it go out through your feet, replaced by reverence. And I don't just say appreciation, I say reverence. And here's a couple reasons why. A friend of mine is one of the most famous, well known quantum physicists in the world, and he loves statistics. So I asked him, I said, what are the chances that life would have actually formed from the primordial ooze and the chemical combinations to actually create the first single celled life form? He said it's 10 to the 29th power that a single celled organism would actually be able to be formed out of pure elements. So if a rock would have fallen on it, well, start that one over. So one with 29 zeros after it, or a 10 with 29 zeros. That's a lot just to
Yeah.
have it happen. I mean, if you're a creationist, well, then that's another thing totally.
I,
But if you're an evolutionist,
I'm not a creationist. I believe in evolution. I believe that, you know, we've been here for 4.54 billion years,
correct,
approximately.
as we understand it, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that said, he also said that the chances of you becoming a human and actually having the sperm and the egg come together, you're carried all the way to term. Mom was in the right state, dad was in the right state, there were no chemical imbalances. They could actually have that happen and you became human is 1 in 400 trillion. So that means, Adam, that no matter what's going on in your life, you're a miracle. And every single time you take a breath, you're breathing in more oxygen molecules than there are grains of sand in the world with every breath. So that means that you have 29,000 times every single day to do something that is just mind boggling, right? And it's your biggest source of power is your breath. That's why, well, no, that's not why, but this has been known for thousands of years that in ancient Greece, the word pneuma means breath, chi, breath, prana in India, the life force, breath. There's a really big reason is because it's the first thing we do when we come into the world, last thing we do when we go out, and in between, it is our greatest source of fuel and power for our life. And it is also the easiest and best way for us to remember I'm here. It's now. Nothing really serious going on here. I'm not going to be here forever. What can I experience and what do I prefer in this moment right now? Because I have the choice, maybe not to control my direct circumstance right now, but I can always choose my emotions and how I react to where I'm at and what I'm doing and how I can view this. Do I view it as a victim? Do I view it as an empowered person? Do I view it as an empowered person experiencing victimhood for some kind of a lesson? It's up to you.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I'm not the helicopter. I'll just throw you a rope and say, this is how you climb up that mountain, but you have to climb your mountain. We all have 7.5 billion people, and everybody has their own mountains to climb. But there are some common threads that I can tell you without a doubt are present. You exist. You're having experience. It's ongoing. You can't shut it off. Everything changes except for the first four things.
Dang,
Everything changes except for the first four things.
that's crazy. Um, uh, so, so you would, so for, I do want to go back to the bullying aspect. So definitely, I still think it's a problem. I had
Oh,
issues growing up.
sure,
I had
sure.
issues growing up. One time, I was pushed down to the ground and my thighs were actually bleeding. No joke on that. I was about 12 years old. So going through that experience was very hard and I already started playing hockey. So I had it I did develop a little bit of rage. So what would you say to those who are coming up or going through that coming of age era who just deal with this rage and this aggression and respond to things and knowing when to fight to defend themselves or just or and not retaliating but or just finding the right balance of just not letting rage overtake them.
Yeah, that's an extremely important and very pertinent question. You know, when we were growing up, and I'm quite a few years older than you, Adam, but we never had school shootings.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. That
I
shit didn't happen.
I I'm 30 by the way and the
Oh yeah,
only
okay. Yeah, like I'm all way older than you.
yeah. Yeah, and in 2012, I mean, I saw the Sandy Hook or the Newtown shooting. Yeah, my roommate turned on the news, and I was a freshman in college when I saw the
Right.
news go down. So I didn't, so never went through that era, fortunately
Yeah.
for me.
Well, yeah, Columbine, you were still young, much younger. I Never happened for most Gen Xers. We didn't have any of that happening, right? And so the thing is looking at, okay, what changed? Okay, you can look at the societal changes and you can look at maybe even the pathology, but the most important thing is also to look at the cure. And not that anything was more aligned with this cure before, we just had a different set of things we were concerned with, or growing up in the 70s and 80s in Utah, in a little farm town, it was like boys will be boys, let them figure it out. Just let them beat me up. And sometimes the parents would tell me I'm going to hell because I don't go to their church. That's really heavy stuff for an 8-year-old to hear. But when it comes down to the people that are having the hard time, this is the interesting thing. There are so many resources now, mental health resources, counselors, all kinds of things that people can do naturally instead of just going on a bunch of drugs that make you a zombie or have side effects. But there are so many different things that are available. The most important thing you can do is if you're out there and you're having difficulty and you're struggling, realize, first of all, you're not alone. Second of all, there is help. Third, it's up to you to say something and not just harbor it. Don't just harbor it. As you get older, and thank God puberty is a one-time thing. We don't have to do that again. Um, but as you get older, you have to really think about this. As you look at the parents, look at the people older in your life, and look at what they're concerned with. And then look at the people who are 20 years older than them and look at what they're concerned with. And look at the people who are in their 80s and look at what they're concerned with. And just realize, wow, someday I'm going to be that old and I'm going to be concerned with that. Right now, I'm concerned with this. What would it be like if I shifted my awareness and my perspective from being so concerned about what I'm doing right now, and just kind of step back out of myself and say, how important is this really? And I think that why that's really important, Adam, is because so many people feel like they don't have a purpose. They're playing video games more. They're not going outside. They're not socializing. They're not having interaction with people nearly as much as we used to in the past because we had to. My generation, we had, television. So we'd watch the television. But say my grandparents, they would go dance. They had community dances. Everybody went and got together and they got to socialize. They had much better social skills than we have now as a whole. We can't deny that because that's the only way they communicated. Now we have emojis. Now we have these. Now we have cyberbullying. The people don't even have to do it to your face anymore. And it's a totally different world. But there are some things that are just still in place. You decided to come here as an energy of consciousness to have a human experience through the lens of this body. That's true. You were somewhere before you came here. You're going somewhere afterwards. I say this as a near-death survivor myself, where I left my body. I could have left and gone on, and I chose to come back into my body. Out-of-body experiences. This is all very well documented, even though you can't reproduce it because near-death experiences aren't really reproducible. But the people who have had them cannot deny that they're real. And if you haven't, that's good. Someday you will.
I'm not gonna
That's the
lie.
way it is.
I'm not gonna lie here. I actually did have a near-death experience. And this actually and I was 16. I was on my way to take the ACT. And I was like, and I was granted a lot of extra time because I was in special ed. But but apparently there was this trash bag. My dad was driving me to the ACT at my high school. We were on the highway. There's this trash bag that falls right under the hood of his Honda Accord. And and guess and guess what happens? There's fumes coming out of the car,
Oh,
and and uh and there definitely could have been some oil leak had that happened. And my old man was like, no, I'm gonna keep going. And and there was and if it wasn't for this guy who said, who was like honking at us and begging us to pull over, he and say, back up, the bag's on fire, the bag's on fire. And if it wasn't for him saying that, I would have probably been dead because it would have probably hit like eventually it would have burned something and hit something and car blows up at some point. And then it's like during that ACT, I was like, I was a little unfocused and I was like, I came that close to death too. And I don't know if I had an out of body experience, but it's like I just could not stop thinking about just like what my life would have been like too.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. Glad that did not explode. That would have been that experience, right? And you couldn't
Yeah.
shut that off. So, with that in mind, we all have these opportunities in our lives. And speaking to the people out there who may be struggling, maybe it's your mental health, maybe it's anger, maybe it's rage. The most important thing is you realize you are not alone. You're not the first person to have ever experienced this. Many people have been able to move through this, and it's up to you, and it's your responsibility to find out how to do that for yourself. Doesn't mean to do it by yourself, but if you don't ever say anything and you keep it and you repress it or suppress it, and then it explodes later, that's also on you. So it's important in this day and age. There are plenty of people to talk to. There are plenty of people who will listen, plenty of advocates who can support you. You have to be willing in order to receive that support. And if you don't find it someplace, don't stop. Go find another place. I'm here in Utah, where Kentucky Fried Chicken was founded in Salt Lake City, right?
That,
And the reason I mentioned that is Harlan Sanders had to go to over 1,000 different financiers before he got funding to start Kentucky Fried Chicken. He got over 1,000 no's, but he kept going. And so if that's what it takes for you to find that person that's going to be able to help you in what you're dealing with, do it. Do it. What else are you going to do? Suffer? Well, that's a choice too. You can totally do that. But it's also important that you go and take that initiative. And you can always, I've got like I said, I've got a gift for everybody, Adam, that they'll be able to use right now when they are experiencing that rage or that anger or that fear or that anxiety, to immediately balance your nervous system. Like within a couple minutes, you will feel so much better and more calm. And the worst decisions always happen from emotion, always. If that's good, either way. Like, I'm so excited to buy the Ferrari, and you wind up broke. Or, I really hate my school, so I'm going to get a gun. They're always based upon emotion. So once we take this breath and we relax, we come from a position where we're not so stimulated. We start to actually use our brain instead of the anger chemicals that are going in our body. So that's what I would say. The most important thing. And it thing is I've experienced rage and I've experienced a lot of hatred as well. I was beat up in almost every day of my life from age 5 to 16. I don't think that's cool. I didn't think that was cool at that time. But I also understand that, like Buddha said, anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. They won't, but you might.
absolutely, might. Man, this was something else. I mean, I can still keep going. You navigated um during the pandemic, we certainly had a lot of people with anxiety and everything. What was your clientele like, and what was business like during that time during 2020?
Well, it destroyed our business. As a martial arts school, that whole pandemic was it was a catastrophic event for the martial arts, for yoga, for dance. Over half the martial arts schools, about 7,800 of us, closed in the first 6 months of the pandemic because huge attrition rate, right? Nobody wants to spar with a mask on. Everybody's afraid to be in class with each other. Nobody was going to spar over Zoom, but I did try to do virtual classes. And I tell you what, there were more peanut butter jelly sandwiches eaten during my classes than all 20 years of teaching kids before that combined. Just in a month, kids would sit there, eat while they're trying to do their martial arts. It just didn't work. So we had to pivot. And so we pivoted to seminar format to teach the blindfolded skill, and then did that for a couple of years. And then November 2022, I had the opportunity. I don't know if you've ever worked, anybody out there, if you've ever worked with a family member, but it can really be challenging, especially when you're both really on different paths. Well, my brother and I decided we were going to pursue things independently and serve different pieces of humanity. And so for me, always having been a consummate learner, scholar, very interested in science and also technology, I really wanted to bring in all this amazing 21st century tech and stem cells and peptides and genetic engineering and things that can really complement the Marpati-Buti system, and bring those in a way that nobody else has ever done in history. And I'm still the only one. Nobody else does what I do. And it helps people move from point A to point, holy crap, in literally minutes. And in a way, it doesn't matter how much experience they've had in any kind of breath work, physical fitness, meditation. It just blows their mind. But that's the thing, is it's not me. I just have the tools. It's just the tools in the toolbox. But using them in the right way, you can make some amazing buildings, meaning your building, if you use the tools in the right way. But most people just don't know they have the tools. So it's my mission to help people have the right tools to build whatever they want for their life. I hope that answers your question, probably a little bit more.
Yeah, it does. But so the tools, let's go over the tools again. Want to make sure everyone gets this.
Yeah.
And that includes.
So this type of breath work is based upon hypoxia, intermittent hypoxia, which the Nobel Prize in 2019, interestingly enough, was won by a team of scientists studying intermittent hypoxia and studying carbon dioxide on the body. And they're seeing like a reversal of cancers and diabetes and all kinds of things. There's enough research behind it to win a Nobel Prize. And this breath work that I teach is unique in the world. There are many out there that do breath work for sure, but not like this. And so this is something where people can feel. And I say feel because then you know. Belief is a poor substitute for knowledge. I want people to know, not believe what I say. I'll show you how to do it. You do it, and you know you're on the path. So with that said, by using this and then taking this ancient art, combining it with things like vibroacoustic therapy, where your whole body vibrates at certain frequencies, and actually you can tune into, say, the 528 hertz of love. Your whole body and every cell will actually vibrate using transducers with the vibration of love. And while you're doing this work, you're just like amazing expansion in your heart and smile across your face. But you can work on all kinds of different things using that. I also use EEG brain training headsets to actually change the neural structure of the brain so you can fire and wire new neural pathways. I have the most amazing binaural beats and brainwave entrainment sound technology in the world at my disposal with one of my dear friends who is the pioneer of this, and he's been doing it for 40 years and sold millions of albums. He's one of the most amazing humans I've ever met. Organic food, non-GMO, all ethically sourced Indian food, very good, and through Arya Organic, and it's also an energy work and consciousness company. Things like that. When I bring these things in, you get to eat love, you get to feel love, you get to build energy in your body so that you're a more powerful broadcaster of energy, but also you have you're tuning your antennae in your body, which we have many, like way beyond the five senses. You get to tune them to take in the signals even more accurately, which makes it so that your intuition goes through the roof. You also have a lot more connection with the people around you, more connection with your own source, however that it really works in your heart. And so overall, it's just a force multiplier for everything you do, anything you do.
course, of course. Man. All right. I guess that will wrap up the show. I mean, there's just so much to talk about too. I mean, like breath work, definitely I'll definitely want to work on that certainly before tomorrow's game that I'm going in. But any advice for a hockey player? Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Watch out for the high sticks, man.
okay.
No,
Okay.
no, of course.
Of course.
So what I would recommend for you, Adam, and for everybody out there, this will be released later, but Adam, for your game tomorrow, go to my website, which is iampure.energy. And when you go to iampure.energy, you're going to be able to get a free course from me. It's my gift to all of you. And on there is going to teach you, first of all, how to calm your nerves using that perfect breath I talked about, so that when you go in, you know what it's like to be in the flow, right? Imagine if you could harness that at will anytime within seconds. That's what this breath teaches you how to do. And that is the scratch of the scratch of the scratch of the surface of the integrated ascension method. My online courses, I highly recommend for everybody who has lungs. So if you're watching, listening, that means you're going to benefit significantly from that, especially going into the stressful holiday season right now, but also cold illnesses. We've got another surge into COVID and influenza season, right? All the stuff. But it's been shown that stress is the cause of all disease, not most. The CDC says over 90% of all disease. Many doctor friends of mine say, nope, it is 100% the cause of all disease because, we're fighting off billions of pathogens every single day. If you have an immune system that is working, great. But when you stress out, you produce cortisol and all the other stress hormones, and it depletes and it dampens your immune system. This is well-known science. So if you want to be happy or you want to be more, your immune system to be better, focus on gratitude for at least 15 minutes a day, and it will raise your immune function for 24 hours.
Gratitude for 10 minutes a day. Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
And remember,
All right. You want to, okay. So, closing thoughts and we've got that. Uh, so I have iampure.energy. Are there any other links that you want to send me?
yeah, sure, I can definitely do that. I'll send you over my socials. And then everybody, please make sure you follow, like, share, link it to your own page. The more people that you help, the more positive energy comes to you. But, I think for most people, it just feels good to do something for other people. But you also have to think of yourself first. That's why it's important on an airplane. You put the mask on yourself before you put it on anybody else if there's an emergency, right? Take care of you first and then spread your light. With this, you'll be able to spread more light just by being who you are in a better capacity in everything you do. And when you share the link, you can help other people build up their own light too. So that's it.
Of course. All right. And if you would like to support this podcast, please check out my audiobooks and also check out the Substack for this podcast as well. I'll have a link to the Substack Blue Oasis blog. And also, if you want to also support me, check out Growing Baseball, check out Growing Hockey, check out Determination, Harnessing the Power of Resilience, and also check out Chess the Game for Peace and Prosperity. You can get them on Spotify or wherever you find your audiobooks. Uh, anything else before I end this segment?
Adam, thanks for having me on. I sure appreciate you. And everybody out there, have a great now and a great day on purpose.
Understood. All right. Take care, everyone, and peace out.